republic takes its place in a long line of movements for justice that were willing to face the nature of power and then face it down. The planet does not simply need more gardens, it needs resistance against the forces that have been plundering our collective garden for 10,000 years. Please welcome to the once and future Republic of Vermont, Mira Keith.
Can you hear me? Is that good?
Right.
Yeah? Okay. Well, I bring greetings from Cascadia, which of course is the Pacific Northwest, also trying to secede, and they're watching on live stream, so. This I know, the day will come when the whole world will be watching you, Vermont. It's a tremendous honor to be here. I attended your convention in 2005, and I had to. It wasn't just intellectual curiosity, though it was that, and it wasn't just to lend moral support, though it was that too. And it wasn't even that fine and righteous feeling of incipient rebellion. It was those three words, Second Vermont Republic. Those three words are a spark that is going to set history on fire. We need you, Vermont. What's burning right now is the whole continent. July was the hottest on record. 2 million acres burned. And it wasn't just in the US. Siberia is going up in smoke too. And it's not just the forests and the grasslands, it's the tundras and the peatlands. They hold enough carbon, and this is a direct quote, to render most of the planet uninhabitable if they burn. A hotter climate means more fires, which release more carbon, which makes a hotter climate, rinse and repeat. Scientists call that a feedback loop. I think the planet might call it a noose, and life itself is about to hang. We need you, Vermont. We need you to tell the truth. I know the facts are unbearable. Reality is an avalanche of grief right now. Maybe we could call it peak grief. Scientists are debating whether a quarter, a third, or fully half of all mammals will be extinct by the year 2050. What's not up for debate? Not ever. Is a culture that devours with an entitlement so profound, it is turning the planet to dust. I know it's unbearable, but I'm asking each of you to take your heart out of cold storage. I know you put it there for safekeeping. I know, but there is no safety on a planet being murdered. In French, the word for heart is cœur, and that's the root of our word courage. To face the facts, you will need your hearts. To face down power, which is what you are proposing, and a modest proposal it is not. You will need all the courage of which your hearts are capable, because that power is huge. There are three vast and brutal systems that have gone rabid with destruction. The first is called civilization. Now that word, civilization, that just means people living in cities. But what that actually means is they need more than the land can give. So food, water, energy, they have to come from somewhere else. From that point forward, it doesn't actually matter what beautiful, lovely, non-violent values people might hold in their hearts. That society is dependent on imperialism and genocide, because no one willingly gives up their land, their water, their trees. But since the city has used up its own, it has to go out and get those from somewhere else. And that is the last 10,000 years in 2 sentences. The central concept here is drawdown. Now this isn't tough. If you use more wood than a forest can grow, eventually the forest will be gone. If you take fish faster than they can reproduce, one day the river will be nothing but water and soil. And then there are things that don't replicate, things like oil, things like coal. Using them at all means using them up. It can only be drawdown. You can blow up mountains to get to the last of it, but now you're drawing down mountains as well as coal, and at the end of the day, it's still gone. This isn't a differential equation. It's not even algebra. This is basic arithmetic. If you have one planet, one blanket of air, one cradle of soil, one place called home, and you destroy it, 1 minus One. That's drawdown. It's other things too. Stupid comes to mind. So does sociopathic. So does insane. And then I'm out of words. Words are supposed to give meaning to experience. All I've got are fragments with too many sharp edges. Hubris, sadism, narcissism, can any of them hold this horror? I've been trying to figure this out since I was 4 years old. I still don't have the words. Maybe in the end the numbers work better. 1 minus 1. Vermont, we need you to do the math. No one in the industrialized world is willing. They'll put a man on the moon, they can't do 1 minus 1. We need you to be, in the words of the inimitable James Howard Kunstler, reality-based adults. That 1 minus 1 isn't a surprise. It didn't sneak up on us. It's been going on for 10,000 years. It's the longest war ever. It's the pattern of civilization. Over and over and over, you have a bloated power center surrounded by conquered colonies from which the center extracts what it wants, until eventually it collapses. That usually takes between 800 and 2,000 years, maybe. It lasts until the soil gives out, because the primary activity of civilization is agriculture. In very crude terms, you take a piece of land, you clear every living thing off it, and I mean down to the bacteria, and then you plant it to human use. So it's biotic cleansing. It's also not a plan for the future because it's drawdown, and the main thing you're drawing down is fossil soil. To give you a number, 1 season of planting your basic grain crop, so wheat or corn or soy, you can destroy 2,000 years of soil in 1 season. Now make no mistake, the planet has been skinned alive. What should be habitat for millions of creatures has turned to salt and dust. Agriculture is carnivorous, and what it eats is entire ecosystems, which is what it's done around the globe. Now civilization has also destroyed human cultures. It's the beginning of militarism, and it's the beginning of slavery. Civilizations end up militarized, and they always do, for 3 reasons. 1, agriculture creates a surplus. If it can be stored, it can be stolen. Someone has to guard it. Those people would be called soldiers. 2 is imperialism. Agriculture is essentially a war against the natural world. Eventually, the agriculturalists need more land, more soil, more trees. There's an entire class of people whose job is war, whose job is to go out and get that stuff and bring it back. Agriculture makes that possible. It also makes it inevitable. And number 3 is slavery. Agriculture is also backbreaking labor. For anyone to have leisure time, they need slaves. By the year 1800, which is the beginning of the fossil fuel age, 3/4 of the people on this planet, 3/4 of them lived in some form of slavery, indenture, or serfdom. The only reason we've forgotten that is because we've been using machines to do that work. And of course, once you have huge numbers of the population in slavery, you need someone to keep them there, soldiers. Now that's the cycle we've been on for 10,000 years. I want to make sure to say this. This disaster is not a function of human nature. It's a function of human choices. We lived on this planet for 2.5 million years without destroying it. Not that everything we did was perfect. There are plenty of mistakes in the archaeological record. But the cultures that survived did so because they learned. They learned how to be humble participants in the process of life. They learned to make their biotic communities stronger in some way. That's what everyone else does, from bacteria to black bears. So when beavers make dams, they create wetlands, which are the most species-dense habitat on the planet. They feed and shelter their families, but they also make the world more alive. Or redwood trees. Redwoods have needles that are exquisitely shaped to turn fog into water. But the water they collect, the trees themselves only use 1/3 of it. The other 2/3 falls to the forest floor and helps the neighbors survive. In fact, it's a gift that makes the forest itself possible. Humans are no different. And for most of our time on Earth, we were participants, not destroyers. Look, the powerful always want the dispossessed to believe that their system is natural, inevitable, created by God, and brought down from the mountain on stone tablets. So we are told that destroying our only home is curled around our DNA, or the tragedy of our big brains, or the fault of our opposable thumbs. Don't believe it. Your DNA builds a soft social mammal who needs a home like every other animal. I think if we have an instinct, it's to protect our young.